let's talk about players who need to impress in this final preseason game, players who have a ton on the line in this final preseason game. And that is, I have a long list. Do you have any?
I
Yeah. Who do you
have
got?
I have a couple here. I think Beanie Bishop is the obvious one. He's a guy that when
Yes.
he missed last week's game, you knew it all came down to this week, how he performed in practice, how he responded to being injured or dealing with an injury, and how he's able to come out here and perform against the Detroit Lions team who, if they start their starters, and if he goes up against a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown, you're really going to get that thrown into the fire. Can he hold up against some of the best in this league at that position? Outside of that, I'm looking at two other guys, Corey Trice and Scotty Miller on either side of the ball. Trice needs to prove that, hey, I can be this number 3. It might not be a finished product right now, which nobody expects him to be, but I can hold down the fort on the outside if need be. That I have progressed tremendously from the beginning of training camp, where I hadn't seen very many live reps before coming back, to now where I've gotten my feet underneath me, and then Scotty Miller on the other side for obvious reasons. I mean, it is a very interesting wide receiver room right now, and it might be in flux over the next 2 weeks. Scotty Miller, this is the last chance for him to really make a case for himself to stick around whenever all of those moves end up happening.
Yeah, those are two I had on my list. They're two massive ones. And I think Scotty Miller has made a name for himself. I think he's snuck his way into some consideration. And if Brandon Aiyuk isn't going to work out in Pittsburgh, maybe Scotty Miller's got a shot. He's looked good in the preseason. And at first you were just trying to ignore it. Now where we're at, it's harder to ignore it. So I don't think that you could, but I agree. I think Scotty Miller is a big one. I got a couple of names. I'll go the other side of Beanie Bishop here. Thomas Graham. I think Thomas Graham has an opportunity to sneak his way onto this roster, potentially surpass Beanie Bishop. He looked decent during training camp, impressive at times, and didn't look bad in the preseason game last week. So maybe, just maybe, he gets an opportunity to be the guy this week and showcase that he could do some things. I expect Beanie Bishop to start, but I think Thomas Graham has an opportunity to be an Elijah Riley and just kind of earn his place when maybe nobody saw it coming, that he should earn that place. Corey Trice, did you say Corey Trice?
Yep.
Corey Trice, like you said, got to prove it on the outside. If not, you got to go outside. You got to go find somebody else. But I think he's got the best opportunity here. On the other side of the ball, I got a couple of big names. By big names, I mean big guys. MyCole Pruitt, who impressive during training camp, impressive during the first preseason game, not impressive during the second preseason game, has somewhat fallen off. Need that to return to where it was, because I think he could play fullback. I think he could play special teams. I think he could play tight end. I think he's a massive body who could block. You want MyCole Pruitt to be on this roster if you're the Steelers. I think he works out very well in Arthur Smith's offense and the way that the Steelers are trying to do things. Let's talk about game time. I could still taste the popcorn and the soda and smell the beer of my first Pittsburgh Steelers game. And yeah, the Jacksonville Jaguars might have won that day, but I will never forget how loud Heinz Field was and how rocking that stadium was on the North Shore. Game Time has this new feature called Game Time Picks that makes things like getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I have an upcoming concert in Cleveland the day after the Pittsburgh Steelers play against the Browns, and instead of sitting there clicking on every single section, I'm just going to use Game Time Picks. Let's talk about why it's so great. Curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. On top of that, you get all-in pricing, which means that you get the total cost up front with no surprise fees at checkout. On top of that, you get seat views, because nobody wants to buy some nosebleed seats for cheap and take a guess on whether you're staring at a pole or you just got the greatest deal in the entire venue. Plus, the lowest price guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Game Time ticket coverage means that your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code ALLSTEELERS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code ALL STEELERS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, low prices, guaranteed. Broderick Jones and Spencer Anderson are my two offensive linemen for two different reasons. Broderick Jones he's got to quiet some noise because nobody, not Justin Fields, not Russell Wilson, not Mike Tomlin, not Brandon Ayuk, has more noise around him right now than Broderick Jones. And if you're the Steelers, you're hoping that noise goes away. Broderick's got to quiet that noise. He's got an opportunity here to do so. He's got to take advantage of it. On the other side of that, Spencer Anderson, probably going to play some center, needs to prove I could be the swing center, needs to prove I could be the backup. I'm the guy this year. You could rely on me 100%. I could be a guard and a center if you need me to be, no questions asked. Because, I think that's the Steelers' best option, but I don't think the Steelers are 100% sold on that option. This is a good opportunity for Spencer Anderson. And then to finish off this list is Van Jefferson, because I also had Scotty Miller. I also had Beanie Bishop. But Van Jefferson got us a little bit excited in that first preseason game, got us excited during training camp, did nothing last week. And I get it. Nobody on offense did anything last week, but do something, turn this into your game. Turn this into, you can't stop Van Jefferson. He could be the guy. Quiet the pressure for Brandon Ayuk or for another trade. This is a massive game. This could decide if he's your 2 or your 3 heading into the season. I think he's got an opportunity to shut that down. That would be my list. Thomas Graham, Beanie Bishop, Van Jefferson, Corey Trice, Cole Pruitt, Scotty Miller, Broderick Jones, and Spencer Anderson.
Yeah, the Broderick Jones one is one I thought about too. Obviously, he's not going to lose his position on the team. The question being, where does he end up playing? Does Troy Fautanu get healthy by week 1? Does it push him over to the left? And does that cure all that ails him? That's a big question mark, but he does need to quiet the noise around him. Obviously, when you look at what he's gone through this year so far, it's not been a pretty, situation for Broderick Jones. But I think this is an opportunity, especially going up, like you mentioned, against Aiden Hutchinson, for him to win a couple reps, show people, hey, last week was a fluke. It was a bad week. He's learning to play with that injury. From what it sounds like when he talked, it's not an injury that's going to kind of go away anytime soon. So he's learning to play through that injury. And I think with that, you're going to see him progress. But Thomas Graham is the interesting one. I didn't think about, who was behind Beanie Bishop, just that Beanie Bishop needed to perform in order to keep that starting role. But Thomas Graham's a name that we talked about him a lot during, when I was up there on August 6th. There were a lot of people that were mentioning Thomas Graham. So going to keep my eye out for him tomorrow. And obviously will be very interesting to see if he's able to, as Elijah Riley and Chandon Sullivan did last year, make a name for himself late in the preseason.
Yeah. It's a good opportunity. It's an exciting game. I think there's when this was happening, when we started the preseason, I looked at it and said, all right, by Detroit, things will be so easy. Like I was explaining to the newcomers with the website and everything, like, yeah, by the 24th, things are so calm. It's good. We'll use it as a trial run for the regular season, give everybody a little opportunity to do other things. As we sit here today, it's like, oh, it's not. It's way more intense than we thought it was going to be. Things are popping, and we'll see what happens.